genre.
Podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Scott Corelli, and today we are joined by a guest, Jeff Blossom. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely.
It's an honor.
Of course.
And today on the show we'll be discussing The Mind of Evil, Part 1, the third Doctor's sixth story.
Yes. So The Mind of Evil is written by Don Houghton and directed by Timothy Combe. Don Houghton, of course, we just sort of sang his praises a couple of episodes ago when we talked about Inferno, which is a great story that he also wrote. So they invited him back to write another one. His story, this second serial that he was writing, was going to be called The Pandora Machine. And he was actually inspired by having seen A Clockwork Orange. And decided that could be a good Doctor Who story, A Clockwork Orange.
Sure.
So yeah, he just wanted to do a story about a machine that alters criminal minds in the means,
but not that criminal minds.
Yeah, in the means of rehabilitating them. No, friend of the show Zach Luna did that. But anyway, so the other bit of this, he realized he wanted to do this, but it wasn't enough to flesh out 6 episodes. So based on the suggestion of his wife, who's an Asian actress, was basically he added a subplot that involved intrigue at an international peace conference, and then was asked by Barry Letts and Terrence Dicks to add the Master to the storyline because he was sort of the theme of this season, and so he added all of that stuff in and created this storyline. And I mean, really, that's kind of the whole thing. I mean, there's not really a lot of like drama or like fun stuff in this one, other than the fact that Don Houghton, so they renamed the name of the episode The Mind of Evil, and Houghton hated it so much that he never came back to Doctor Who.
Oh my God.
He just hated the title so much. He thought it was cheesy and bad, and was just like,
That's
what?
Great.
I'm good.
I mean,
You know what?
He's not wrong.
Wow.
But
You got to stick to your principles.
But it's not like it's out of nowhere. It's pretty thematically relevant to the story.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway,
that's true.
Yeah. So he left and took a job writing and producing Hammer horror films, including The Satanic Rites of Dracula. And then he would go on to write episodes for Sapphire and Steel and created a Scottish soap opera called Take the High Road. So that's
Great.
what he had going on after this. Yeah, it's a bummer because honestly,
yeah.
The Mind of Evil and Inferno are arguably 2 of the best classic Who stories, period. And he never wrote another one, and that's kind of a bummer. But he wrote 2 great ones, so thanks, man. I guess. Sorry they butchered your title. In your
man. It happens sometimes. You can't let it alter the course of your whole life.
Yeah.
But it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me want to kind of watch some of his Hammer horror films to see what those are like.
I was gonna say I can see those, like I can see the connective tissue. I haven't seen those particular Hammer horror movies, but I've been around. I've lived. I've seen a couple.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, do you like Don Houghton's stories?
Oh yeah, I think they're both great. They're both you have to be in the right mood, I feel like, because both of them are a little bit dark. In this one you got all these people dying and getting murdered all over the place, and the world ends basically in the first one in Inferno. So yeah, but they're great. They're so well put together.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well let's get into talking about this one, The Mind of Evil. I guess let's start with sort of overall impressions of the story as we sort of start breaking down what happens in each individual episode. Cass, what are your overall thoughts on The Mind of Evil?
I think it's paced kind of strangely. I noticed this rewatching it for this. I actually think I like it better in black and white than I do in color, because it just it's like the black and white lends to the intrigue a little more, I think. And just like the old-timey quality of it. I really, really appreciate that there's no yellow face in this one. So
yeah.
good on them.
Yeah.
That's nice. That is nice.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that the lead actress is his wife, which is cool. But
yeah.
I have an idea.
What about you, Nick? What did you think of this?
Yeah, gosh, as soon as Cass, I actually had forgotten that there was a black and white version, and I remember us talking about that, and then I saw this in color, and I immediately was like, wow, I bet I would actually enjoy this a lot more in black and white too. I mean, not that I had a lot of fun with this one. I think it is just full of so much of what I've grown to love about this era of the show. Be it like this doctor and the brigadier and just the 70s of it all, and like the action figure kind of stuff, and and yeah, it is weirdly paced. It's kind of stop and start, and but yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with this one.
What about you, Jeff? What are your thoughts on The Mind of Evil?
Well, I mean, definitely commenting on the black and white. I didn't see the color version until maybe like a year ago. I had seen the black and white version several times, and I thought I preferred it like that, but then you don't get to see, Pertwee's like awesome.
Oh
like
my gosh,
maroon,
that's very
shirt or jacket, and like that purple stole or whatever that he's wearing which is, I mean, it's kind of in stark contrast to the monotone of the prison. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just a really awesome, proper unit story. It's one of the first ones that I feel like you actually feel like that Joe and the doctor are part of an organization, instead of just, they're sort of independently, working at something, and here's the brig, or here's Captain Yates or something like that. I mean, you got these other named characters that go on in, fan fiction and other prose work, that show up, like Major Cogsworth or something like that, and Corporal Bell, and all this like big team. So I don't know. I really like that. And of course, I don't know. I think the brig is probably at his best here. It's before I feel like he becomes kind of a caricature, maybe a little bit later on in the show. But right here, he and the doctor, that relationship is, I don't know, amazing in this, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
I had only ever seen the black and white one until watching it for this. And I'll be honest, I watched the first episode in color, and it was like, I'm going back to black and white because I mean, you're right. He has a great outfit, and the colors and stuff are great. But man, this story just works so much better in the black and white, because it just, I don't know. It weirdly, for some reason, the black and white sort of tones down the camp of this story. And amps up all of the intrigue and it
the
just,
noir, the grit.
Right. Yeah. And it just, it's great in black and white. It really, really is. So if you have the option of watching this one way or the other, I would tell you, give it a shot in black and white, because I think you'll be glad that you did. This is a great story, and it is definitely in my top 3 Pertwee stories, I think, for me.
Oh, yeah.
I really, really like this one a lot, and I think it's so like it just the most James Bond. I mean, everyone talks about Pertwee's doctor being like the James Bond doctor, action doctor. And I think this is the story where, it's like this and is it Day of the Dalek where he flips over the guy while holding a whiskey.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think it's Day of the Doctor. I think he flips a ninja or something like that while holding his whiskey and never dropping it.
I mean, the climax of this is
I think it's a wine, but yeah.
Is it wine or is it brandy? The mix of the two.
maybe
it's
both.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, but anyway, this is
just put it in my cup.
It's
whatever it is.
It's up there with my favorite Pertwee stories, and I think it's very indicative of this era. Like, if I were to give, if somebody were to like ask, like, what's the one Pertwee story I should watch, I would probably give them this one. Like, it just sort of has everything I love about this era. It like Jeff was saying, it's got a lot of great unit stuff. I think it's got some of the best Roger Delgado master stuff, and certainly some of the best relationship stuff between the Doctor and the Master.
Yes,
it's just their chemistry is on full display in this episode or in this story, and it's great. So that's the Mind of Evil. Oh yeah, for sure. So
we'll get to it.
The Mind of Evil Part 1, written by Don Houghton, directed by Timothy Combe, produced by Barry Letts, script edited by Terrence Dix, air date January 30th, 1971. The Third Doctor and Jo arrive at Stangmore Prison to see a demonstration of the Keller machine, which is supposed to cure antisocial behavior by extracting evil impulses from the mind. Professor Kettering, acting on behalf of the inventor Keller, says the machine has resulted in over 100 successful tests with other prisoners, but the machine overloads and the test subject, a criminal named Barnum, is knocked out. Meanwhile, UNIT is busy overseeing the security at the first ever World Peace Conference, but things aren't going according to plan. The Brigadier is confronted by Captain Chin Lee, who says that classified documents have been stolen from the Chinese delegation. Later, there is more worrying news. The Chinese delegate is dead. Elsewhere, Captain Mike Yates is assigned to lead a small unit task force in disposing of an outlawed nerve gas missile. At the prison, a medical student who was present during the Keller machine demonstration is found dead near the machine, covered in bites and scratches, his face frozen in terror. It is revealed that he was incredibly afraid of rats. Later on, Professor Kettering is examining the machine when it activates on its own. He has a vision of water and dies of a heart attack. The prison medic, Dr. Summers, investigates the death and is shocked when it appears that Professor Kettering died of drowning in a completely dry room. The Doctor is worried that the machine has power over people's minds and is growing more powerful, as its activity seems to coincide with violent outbursts from the other prisoners. While examining the machine, it activates again, and the Doctor is frozen in fear as the room seems to erupt in flames.
So in the first episode, I right off the bat, I just love the Doctor playing with the security camera like a child in an electronics store.
Mm-hmm.
I love. I mean, I don't think it really started until like every once in a while the second Doctor would do sort of childish things. And then the third Doctor does it a little bit more, and then obviously the fourth like just goes into like full on like man-child stuff occasionally,
where it's like not fun anymore by the end.
Yeah, well, especially early on, and then later it just becomes like you can't tell if he's like acting like a child or if he's just drunk. But
yeah,
but I do like that sort of I don't know, that playfulness of look, a security camera, like. Dude, you had a time machine that you traveled all the way through the galaxy, and you're like being entertained by like waving at his security camera.
See, I took that when he pulls up, I take that as he is not having anything to do with this prison. Like when he shows up in the first in the Keller machine, when they're displaying it for the first time and he's just talking over everybody. I think that's to show how much cooler he is than your pitiful security camera technology and all of this other stuff. I think that he's so over it, if that makes sense. And I took that as he was sort of making fun of them by waving at them like, yes, I know you see me. Why don't you guys come out here?
Yeah, I mean,
I guess it depends on...
The only reason that I would disagree with that is just because like the security guy like catches him doing it and he looks slightly embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. But so I don't know, is this just what British prisons look like? Because every time we would get the sort of wide shot of the prison set, or wherever they shot this, I just got like mad Paddington 2 vibes from the set.
Mad Paddington was his prison name, actually.
I like that as a prison. Yeah, so they actually shot the exteriors of this and like the whole, I don't know, siege sequence and everything like that at Dover Castle. What's his name? Barry Letts wanted to shoot this in a prison and he thought they were going to be able to, and then it was a couple weeks till filming and everything was falling through, and so they ended up shooting it at Dover Castle. So I don't know how accurate it is, and then they wrote in the script that it's in an old fortress type of thing. And then the interior though was at BBC TV Center, and they actually built like 3 or 4 sets based loosely around actual prison images and things like that.
So like the layout is probably a basic layout for like what British prisons look like. And
I mean, yeah, possibly. I would say more loosely like, they might have like a narrow stairway that goes down to a special cell, like where the Barnum is at the beginning and Mailer is, and Joe and the Doctor keep getting locked up down there.
Right.
I mean, as opposed to layout wise, I'm not sure that makes any sense.
Well, it looks like the layout of the prison in Paddington 2.
Okay. Well, there you go.
and in like
Mad
there's
Pad,
a point where they're they're walking up and down those stairs in the thing, and I'm just imagining Hugh Grant like singing his like musical number in the closing credits of Paddington 2 on those stairs.
What if Mind of Evil was a musical?
I have not seen Paddington 2, and the fact that there's a prison in a children's movie at all.
Yeah, Paddington gets locked up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he gets framed for the crimes of Hugh Grant.
He's making the neighborhood worse.
Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
There's no place for bears in London.
Right.
God.
He has to teach Mad Eye Moody, the prison chef, how to make marmalade so that everyone can eat like a dream properly. It's a great movie, you guys. Still one of my favorites of the year.
You're in for a treat, Cass. When you finally sit down and watch it.
It's magnificent. And not in like an ironic way. Like it'll literally melt your heart and you'll just be like, I feel so good. It's fantastic.
It'll make you like 3% a better person.
Yes, 100%. This will not be the only time that I bring up Paddington 2. There's something else that happens that is also very much from a Paddington 2 situation.
Oh wow.
But so this machine, the Keller machine that removes the evil impulses from people's minds. And they hook this guy Barnum up to it, who just seems like a mad, like psycho killer. And they hook him up to it, and he passes out. But when he comes back later on, he's like got the mind of a child, basically. I don't know. What I love too is like I just get the feeling that this actor who plays Barnum probably got typecast a lot as like the big scary bad dude, and then they were like, hey, we want you to play a big, scary, bad dude for like 30 seconds. And then the rest of the movie or the rest of the show, we just want you to be like this really like great, good soul, almost like Frankenstein. And he was like, oh, yeah, okay. Like he just because he just has that look about him where he's just like, oh, yeah, no, that's a scary dude. But he's so like childlike and happy throughout this whole story that I don't know. I imagine being that guy and being really excited about playing this part because it would be so different from what you probably normally get stuck with.
Mm-hmm.
That happens, and the guy that's in charge of it, Keller, Professor Keller, doesn't show up, and that's fishy, right? This other guy shows up to show it off instead. This guy named Professor Kettering, and he gets real mad at the doctor because the doctor gets real mad at him, and about this machine and about how bad of an idea it is. But I always like. I think more than just about any other doctor, it's kind of a tie between Jon Pertwee and Peter Capaldi as far as like which doctor I like more getting up in somebody's face about something. I just really like that, and like getting in that argument about like Kettering is just like, well, if you were a scientist, and he's like, I've been a scientist for 1,000, and then just walks away.
Just walks out, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
It's interesting. That's a little slip there because that one, and I think maybe in the Silurians he talks about being more than 1,000 years old before they retcon it,
right?
And he becomes like 400 or something, or 500 when Tom Baker is the doctor.
It's like when you're like in your mid-20s and you're like, ugh, I'm so old.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's what it was retconned to. Like it was retconned during Moffat's era as just being like, yeah, the doctor lies about his age. We don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It's rule number 1.
Right. Yeah. That. Anyway.
Oh, he liked to write.
He sure did. Yeah. So the doctor doesn't trust this machine, and he doesn't trust Professor Kettering. And we meet Captain Chin Lee, who is sort of a Chinese delegate person. And she's mad because paperwork has gone missing. And and the Brigadier is just like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. And so she leaves in a huff. And then we see her pull out the documents and burn them because she's actually under some sort of control based on like this thing that's on her neck that we don't know what it is yet. But this is what Cass was talking about. No Yellowface. Good on you guys, casting people. Doctor Who offices in the 70s. Good work.
You cleared that low bar.
Yeah.
And they will trip on it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the special features for one of the DVDs, Barry Letts talks about how he didn't like to. He said it was very standard of the BBC to have only like white British actors play all ethnicities all the time, and he said he didn't like that, but that was the standard. And so what he would typically do would ask. They would ask around like, "Oh, do you know anybody of this ethnicity who could play whatever part?" But usually he didn't expect an answer, or like, oh yeah, so and so. But apparently when he asked this time, the guy, one of the guys was like, oh yeah, Don's wife is actually Chinese and she's an actor. And he's like, oh well, that's convenient. And they brought her in and she got the part.
Yeah. That is good. So this machine is now sort of it has escalated to what it does. So it doesn't specifically now just pull the evil out of people's brains. It's also like making them see their greatest fears, because like this one college student dies of a heart attack, but he's got like claw marks all over his face, almost like he was attacked by rats. And then somewhere in his medical file, they find out that he had a fear of rats, because that's a normal thing to be in a medical file for some reason.
For like a med student at this time too, like that's the wrong profession for you, my dude.
Yeah. Apparently, his professor or something at his university was I don't know, Dr. Crane, the Scarecrow. Really the only explanation. I don't know. It's honestly, this is kind of in this first and second part, like this machine feels like something that the Scarecrow came up with. But I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, so he dies, and then Professor Kettering has to like investigate this machine and figure out what's wrong with it. And then it attacks him, and he has a fear of drowning. And then he dies of what seems to be drowning. And the doctor's like, this is real weird. So then he looks into it, and then he sees a bunch of fire, and that's our cliffhanger for the first one.
I will say, as far as the pacing goes, I'm glad they got rid of the naysaying scientist person, like, in the first episode.
Oh, very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very true. It's very true. Unlike the Commandant in the Faceless Ones, who was there, like, the whole story.
Or, like the Inferno. Like, that guy's around the whole time.
For sure. Just, like, arms crossed.
Yeah, now I'm turning into a werewolf. Ha
Oh, man.
The Mind of Evil Part 2. Written by Don Houghton. Directed by Timothy Combe. Produced by Barry Letts. Script edited by Terrence Dix. Air date February 6th, 1971. Joe enters the room and breaks the hold the machine had over the doctor. Joe tells the doctor about Kettering's cause of death, and he tells Joe about the fire he saw while under the machine's thrall. He says that he once saw a planet burn, and the machine used that memory to attack him. Yates enters with orders to bring the doctor back to Unit HQ. He refuses until Yates tells the doctor about the peace conference and the death of the Chinese delegate. He leaves Joe in charge of things at the prison and tells her to make sure no one enters the room with the killer machine. Captain Chin Lee is being watched by Sergeant Benton, but she uses some sort of mind control to cause Benton to faint, and disappears. As he goes back to report to the Brigadier, an electrician outside Unit HQ is working on the phone lines. He is revealed to be the Master, and he listens in on a conversation about the missile disposal. Joe checks in on the status of the prisoner, Barnum, who was rendered unconscious by the machine. He is alert, but he has no memory of who he is and his past deeds. Dr. Summers supposes that the machine has removed all negative impulses from Barnum's mind, making him almost childlike. The doctor and the Brigadier visit with the replacement Chinese delegate, and they have tea. Everything seems to be in order, but the Brigadier orders a general alert for the Chinese captain. Chin Lee meets up with the Master, who says he has another task for her. She tries to resist, but he hypnotizes her. Her task is to kill the American delegate. At the prison, one of the inmates escapes his holding cell and starts a mutiny. The inmate, Mailer, says they need more hostages, and they take Joe and Dr. Summers prisoner. The Brigadier is alerted that Chin Lee has returned to the hotel and rushes off. At the hotel, she calls the American delegate and says that the Chinese delegation wishes to speak to him. He complies and enters the room. Chin Lee closes the door behind him and switches off the lights as a dragon suddenly appears to attack him.
So episode 2, the doctor is saved by Joe, and he snaps out of it, and he reveals that, like, he once watched a whole planet burn, and that's why he's scared of fire now.
Yeah,
Weird.
Inferno.
So that's a direct reference to Inferno.
Yeah. Sure.
Which, yeah, I mean, just watching all of those people die.
Would that give him a fear of fire, though?
I know, I think he'd be afraid of lava or volcanoes or...
Yeah, right.
I don't think that it was supposed to be. I think that we were supposed to imply that, or it was supposed to be implied that he wasn't afraid of everything burning and the end of the world, and the, trick that they had,
just
the
that
special
concept
effect that they had was just fire, and that was it. I don't know that it particularly reads that way, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really sad for continuity's sake that his greatest fear is not giant spiders.
Oh man, that would have been great.
That is like a long game, and I'm just like, man, I wish. Okay, well, that's fine. Nick will find out in 5 years or something.
Just imagine there was a spider in the fire.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's on fire and it has 8 legs.
Oh God. It's a fight.
I think it's interesting.
So Yates shows up and is like, I gotta take you to go see the Brigadier because he wants to talk to you. And the doctor is like, I'm kind of busy. And he's like, well, I'll take you by force. And then the doctor just like throws some Venusian karate on him. And I'm just like, dude, this is your bro, man. Like, what are you doing? Like,
he loves Benton karate way more than Yates. Like, Benton is his favorite.
We talked last time about how much Yates kind of sucks. Despite, supposedly being a companion, or at least that was his intention. He was an intended companion.
I count Yates as a companion, but Benton is way better than Yates.
Yeah, agreed. Benton's the best.
Man, hearing you guys talk about this really makes me think that I don't know, in some iteration of this show, like in a future iteration of the show, a return to something like the Doctor working for an organization could be really fun in like a modern context.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
sure. So this, so that speaking of Benton, we get this great scene where Benton, Lee is like, Benton is watching Lee, and Lee makes a phone call, Captain Lee, and she makes a phone call or pretends to make a phone call, but then she uses her mind control stuff to make Benton faint. I don't understand this. Because I thought the thing on her neck was there to make her obey. I didn't know that it could also allow her to make other people obey or do things.
It's supposed to be somehow connected to the Keller machine, right? Because that's how she changes, later on when the delegate dies. Like, I think that she's somehow harnessed to the power of the machine through that device, and the master is trying to control them both. I don't know. It's technology.
Right.
That's how it works.
They reverse the polarity.
Technology is the answer. Yeah, exactly. The master reversed the polarity so that she can control the machine, and then
there we go. Done and done.
Done. Answer.
Yeah, but anyway, he faints and it's awesome. It's a real good faint. Benton's the best. I love Benton. he
faints like no one else.
Yeah, well, he's like in street clothes because he's just like in a trench coat or whatever, and he faints like over a stairwell, like it just tips over the edge, and like this guy is like, "What are you doing? Like, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, where did she go?" And then just like.
And he just runs away. I do love that. That he just runs away.
Oh God, I love it. Benton's the best. I love him. So my other Paddington 2 reference, we meet an electrician.
Jeez.
We meet an electrician who is working on stuff nearby, and he goes into a random tent. I don't know why that tent is there. We never see it again. But there's a random tent, and he goes inside of it, and he takes off his electrician disguise, and we see that it's the master, just like Hugh Grant in Paddington 2, a master of disguise.
Whoa, connections.
Yeah.
Do you think that they watched the screenwriters of Paddington 2 watch The Mind of Evil for inspiration?
I bet Paul King is probably a huge Who fan.
Oh yeah. I bet he did. And he was like, we should do stuff like this. Would be fun. Let's do something like this. Yeah. Because I was just like, oh my God, he's Master of Disguise, and there's a prison like this is just Paddington 2. Anyway, God, I wish in Paddington 2 there was a machine that fed on the evil in men's hearts. I guess
they're most bad.
I guess in some ways Paddington 2 itself feeds on the evil of men's hearts.
Oh wow, that's deep, man. Yeah. Wow, media analysis.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
So anyway. He leaves his tent. The master leaves his tent, never to be seen again, and gets in the back of a car. And honestly, this is my preferred vision of the master. It's just master in a full suit with a suitcase in the back of a fancy car with a cigar in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man,
I was like, yeah, this specifically is my master. Like this specific thing.
Like a Dick Tracy mob boss.
Oh, it's the best.
Roger Delgado hated cigars and he did not want to use one at all, and the director convinced him to, and then when he saw like some sort of playback or like the rushes or whatever a few days later, he's like, you're right, the master definitely needs a cigar.
Oh, so good.
It's the one thing Missy needed.
Oh man. Wow. Okay. Well.
Didn't mean that.
Damn it, Nick. So anyway, let's see. Another great moment in this. The Brigadier takes the doctor to go meet with the Chinese delegate, and the doctor speaks Mandarin, and the Chinese delegate is like really impressed, and is like, "Let's go get some tea," and then they just leave the Brigadier. Which is pretty great, and I just love that this show embraces the fact that, like, you know, the type of person, the type of man that the Brigadier is that like he would refuse to learn Mandarin, you know, like that's the kind of person that he is. Like that's the kind of person who becomes like a career military person, especially in the 70s. And I love that I don't know, like they're not afraid to poke some fun at him for being that way, being that sort of close-minded thing. And so I really like that. This is where we get the bit too, where the doctor, not that doctor, a doctor, I forget his, I don't have his
Dr. Summers.
Yeah, Dr. Summers. Thank you.
Yeah,
Dr. Summers mentions that Barnum is somewhere between an idiot and a saint. Because he has no evil inside of him, and he's an angel, but also a moron, which is that's why he's just sort of like this tragic, you know, Frankenstein's monster kind of guy. Like oh man, he's so innocent now for like the rest of the story, and it's great. So this there's this other guy in the prison. It's Mailer, and he's sort of like the big guy at the prison and is trying to plan an escape. And he is working with this other guy who's like cleaning the cells, and he goes in and cleans the cell and leaves a gun in his bed so that he can take over the place. And then this sort of like leads to what is sort of, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of plot lines, a lot of stories in this. It's weird though, because like, while there are a lot of plot lines, they all really connect pretty well together. Except maybe the Chinese delegates stuff. I don't really know. Ultimately, I'm not entirely sure why that's there. Like, I know that it's set up for the peace conference thing. But that's kind of all it does, right? Is set up the peace conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that's the only bit that I think you could probably trim some of that, or at least fold it in a little bit better into the plot. But yeah, we get this big prison riot thing happening.
Yeah.
Which all the prisoners at this prison are all insane. Like, you just walk down the halls and they're all like screaming bloody murder all the time.
That's the effect of the machine. That's the machine that's doing that to them.
Oh. It's
I think that's I mean, seriously though, I think they try to imply that anytime the machine is like getting hungry, getting like ready to feed or about to do something, that it somehow affects the psyche of all the prisoners and they start like screaming and getting hooping and hollering and everything like that.
Okay, I thought it was
try to be atmospheric a little bit.
I mean, that too, but
yeah, well, yeah.
That's why it's a madhouse.
Oh, I see. So yeah, there's an American delegate also in town, and the master, with his cigar in his mouth, tells the Chinese captain, Captain Lee, to kill the American delegate. And so she goes and she pays him a visit, and basically turns into a strobe light dragon.
Yes.
And that's our cliffhanger. Though before that, I guess Joe and Dr. Summers become hostages in the prison riot. But yeah,
it's not as
she
important
becomes
as the strobe light dragon.
Yeah, more importantly is the strobe light dragon. For sure.
Because I mean, we get the resolution of that and why it's a dragon in the next episode, but rewatching this, I was just like, yes, every American senator's greatest fear is just a dragon.
Is a dragon, right? I thought the same thing. This guy's really afraid of dragons.
It's like
they are real.
Oh, my greatest fear! The Chinese are dragons. I knew it.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh! I kind of wondered if it was going to set that up, but I didn't think it was that progressive.
Oh man!
Barry Letts said, "Oh, sorry. I was just going to say he saw the when he saw the dragon like 2 days before filming, and it was too late to do anything about it. So he was like, make sure you just get like a lot of close-ups of the face, and that's why there's not. That's the way it's shot. Why it's shot the way it is.
Oh.
He's like, I learned to check things out before, like 2 days before filming, from this episode.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The Mind of Evil Part 3, written by Don Houghton, directed by Timothy Combe, produced by Barry Letts, script edited by Terrence Dix. Air date February 13th, 1971. Chin Lee is interrupted by the Brigadier and the Doctor, who also see the dragon. The Brigadier fires his gun and the dragon disappears. Chin Lee faints and the American delegate is also unconscious. The Chinese delegate finds an amplification device behind Chin Lee's ear, and the Doctor believes it is linked to the Keller machine. The unrest at the prison continues as Mailer tries to bargain for safe escape with the use of his 2 hostages. Chin Lee wakes up and the Doctor interrogates her. He believes a larger threat is pulling her strings, and he brings her to the Brigadier. Yates calls and informs the Brigadier that there has been a delay with the missile. The Brigadier tells him what has been going on with the Chinese delegation. The Master overhears everything and heads to Stangmore Prison. Lee tells the Brigadier of her past association with Keller. She says she has been in the processing room but can't picture it. The Doctor realizes that she is suffering from post-hypnotic block and suggests that the Master has been posing as Keller this entire time. Jo manages to escape and disarm her guard, and order is restored for the moment. The Master arrives and introduces himself as Keller. The Governor explains the troubles they have been experiencing with the machine and how UNIT has been involved. The Master asks to see Mailer, and they form an alliance to get the prison into the hands of the prisoners again. They use smoke grenades to escape Mailer's cell and soon take over. The Doctor arrives at the prison, and the Master, who is now in charge, allows him in. The Doctor is taken at gunpoint to the Master because the Master needs the Doctor's help. The Keller machine has taken on a mind of its own, and he wants the Doctor to sort it out while he is elsewhere. He intends on stealing the missile UNIT is in the process of moving. The Master tells the Doctor that he intends on launching the missile, destroying the peace conference, and starting World War III. The Doctor escapes, and he eventually runs into the processing room, where he is met yet again by the Master. The Master says he has repaired the machine and wants to see how long the Doctor can hold out against it. He turns the machine on and leaves, and as the Doctor struggles against his bonds, a Dalek looms towards him.
So episode 3, the Doctor and the Brigadier, having found out about the American delegate, they show up and interrupt the hallucination, and Captain Lee basically just turns back into a person and then like passes out. And
what would
yeah,
that
and so
autopsy
like
have been like?
I don't know. But the thing on her neck, that it's a part of the machine, and so like the machine was causing her to turn into a dragon, or like seemed to be a dragon. I forget exactly how they explain this or why it's a dragon. What's the deal?
Yeah. That with the image of a dragon becomes a dragon.
They say it's like a collective hallucination, but like, how would you sync that up with everyone in the room? Like, oh, I'm a dragon now? I don't know. I don't know. Doctor Who. I think
much like Batman himself, I think that Captain Lee became what she feared the most.
Yes. I think that is true.
Which is a dragon. The British are a cowardly lot. What does Batman say? He said
the British are a cowardly lot.
Well, he says criminals. Criminals are a something and cowardly lot. Anyway, that's why he becomes Batman. So
criminals are a cowardly lot.
I mean, this was like in his first issue.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they interrupt the hallucination, and she turns back into a person. They figure out the link between the amplifier on her neck and the Keller machine. The prison riot is continuing, and we find out that the master is actually Keller.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, he invented the machine. And so the master goes to the prison. He wants to get a piece of this prison riot. And he shows up and he helps Mailer basically make the best out of this and sort of take control of the whole prison. And the reason is that he wants to use like the prison guys to like get this missile that unit is moving so that he can blow up the peace conference and cause World War III. Because the master is just an agent of chaos. That's all he wants
to watch the world burn.
Yeah. No, he does. Because it reminds him of the Doctor.
I heard you like fire, dummy.
Also, we find out that the governor isn't negotiating with the inmates. He's just like, let's wait this out. Let's see what happens. Which is all right, man. Sure. And so then the master wants to test the machine out on the Doctor, and the Doctor sees a Dalek, and that's the end of this. And the Dalek thing, I just realized like how out of context, like this cliffhanger is just like, oh, okay, he's seeing a Dalek. Oh, how okay. That's the thing that he's scared of, I guess. All right, cool. But like at the time, like this Dalek was like the first time we'd seen a Dalek in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, end of season 5, right? Or 4.
Right. So I mean, it'd been a while.
4 years.
And Pertwee certainly hadn't been with a Dalek yet, and so this kind of I look back now at this. I'm looking at this this cliffhanger, and I'm just like, you guys are kind of trolling your fans a little bit, weren't you? You're just like, look, it's a Dalek. Oh no, it's not.
Like, remember these?
Yeah.
There's in that sequence, isn't there also like there's like a Cyberman and a War Machine and a Zarbi?
That's later.
And an Ice Warrior.
I think that's another one.
Okay.
I think that's another one.
Okay.
This one's just
okay.
straight
Sorry.
Daleks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This one's just
Daleks.
Daleks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Straight Daleks.
Dun, dun, dun.
The worst kind.
Anyway. So yeah, that's episode 3 of The Mind of Evil. And that's the first half of our coverage of The Mind of Evil.
And the best is yet to come.
Oh, yeah. So we'll be back with more of The Mind of Evil, parts 4 through 6 in our next episode. Jeff will be back to talk more about this story and Doctor Who in general. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, if you're on Facebook, join our Facebook group, the Doctor's Companion Listener Society, and all that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter. You guys know the drill. So we will be back with The Mind of Evil parts 4 through 6. Bye, everybody.